Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 387 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. Early inspections are just around the corner, and with it, an opportunity to see how our colonies have fared over the winter months. If you do take a look, do you know what you're looking for? Listen in to hear what I think you should be checking out. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. Hi everyone, and for those of you listening on Patreon, you're very welcome, and I hope you're well, and that your bees are out flying when the weather allows. For those of you not yet signed up to Patreon, well, this podcast was released on Sunday the 15th of March, so you're missing out on timely information that could make all the difference to a successful season or a swarmy one. Sunday the 15th of March, here in the UK, that's Mother's Day. So to all of you mums out there, a very happy Mother's Day. With a little luck, if you're beekeeping, you might get an opportunity to sneak out to your hive and see what's going on at the entrance. I'm not advocating inspections, you understand? Not yet, at least. Of course, that can all change in the blink of an eye, our spring weather being what it is. But whatever you're up to, I hope you have a fantastic day. This week has been sunny at times, chilly with a blustery breeze, rainy, with some areas getting a significant amount of rain once again, and for the most part the only reliable thing about the week is that the daylight hours are gradually lengthening as we head towards the end of the month and the clock's going forward once more. It's an odd ritual, and I'm sure it makes absolutely no difference to our honeybees. Luckily, the rain held off on Friday for me when I took delivery of a large pallet of assorted beekeeping treats from Thorn beehives. I have a selection of equipment to share with you all, including a Snellgrove board, a Bailey board, a Vivaldi board, and Robson feeder board, as well as a range of feeders for our national Bees on a Budget series, which I hope to get back into shortly. Plenty of videos to come explaining how all of those work, so do look out for those. The main reason for the delivery, however, was a batch of frames and foundation that I need for the Langstroth hives. These we already have, and we need the frames to double brood as the oilseed rape comes into flower. It's an important step for me as it provides fresh comb, space for colonies to grow, and helps prevent granulation in the honey of this sometimes tricky crop. As I've said before, OSR honey is one of my favourites, but does pose some challenges for beekeepers who find the granulation a challenge. We'll get those frames made up over the next couple of weeks, and that should put us right at the point of the start of that spring nectar flow from the oilseed rape, or thereabouts. It's good to get the second brood box on a fraction early, not too early though, so it is a judgment call, and each of us will find OSR flowering at different times, so it's not a one date suits all situation, like so many other things I find in beekeeping. The other bulky part of the pallet delivery is the Thorns travel boxes. These are a plywood construction with large areas of ventilation cut into the box so that air can easily flow in and around the nuke inside. They hold 6 frames and are the box that is supplied with all of the Thorns nukes that they sell to beekeepers. They're handy boxes to look after and keep, useful for urgent splits or swarms that catch us out. If you're buying a nucleus colony from Thorn beehives this year, the bees will come in one of these boxes. On that subject, as you all know I'm sure, I supply Thorns with Langstroth and 14x12 nucleus colonies, and we're getting very close to our maximum availability. So if you are looking for a quality nuke this spring, don't wait too long before getting it ordered. Each nuke is inspected by me immediately prior to delivery, and each comes with a final inspection sheet detailing the inspection and treatments and, of course, what I found when they were inspected. Check out the link in the podcast notes to get yours ordered before it's too late. Talking about inspections, I've not carried out any as yet. This won't come as a surprise to a lot of you, but I know that some beekeepers will be desperate to get into their hives to see what's going on. So, here, a word of caution. I'm not going to tell you that you can't or shouldn't inspect. I just advise patience. As I said earlier, we each have different climates, we each have varying weather patterns, and some, not many I suspect right now, but some will get a chance to bask in warm sunshine early in the afternoon and may be tempted to dive in. If that's you, then just be careful and quick. Don't keep the colony exposed for too long, and just be mindful of why you're opening them up at this time of the year. For me, it's food and brood. The very first inspection in spring is around 2 minutes tops, I would say. I heft them gently first. This allows me to gauge what level of stores they're likely to have. A little smoke at the entrance, roof off, crown board or cover board off. We use feeders upside down sometimes to cover the fondant, so if they're on there, they come off too, exposing the brood box. Now the clock is ticking. A little smoke across the frames and an outside frame gets removed to give me a little more room so I can move things around. At this time of the year, they are generally a little tricky to shift. The propolis on the outside frames can turn to cement when it's cold, so it might make a bit of a crack when split from its neighbour. And of course, that can disturb the bees. All the time, I'm looking down into the brood box, checking the condition of the bees and the next frame. If I'm able to generally move a couple of frames at a time, I will. But this isn't always possible when propolis is so hard. Better to keep the bees calm and go one frame at a time than try to force 2 or more frames apart at the same time. I'm looking for the start of the brood nest, but each time I move a frame, I'm checking it out. A quick glance up and down the frame. Are there food stores? How much? Is it heavily granulated? Can the bees access it? Can they use it? And if not, do I need to add more fondant until next time? This last question can be answered without too much trouble and without looking into the hive, really. What is the forecast for the coming week? Can the bees get out and forage? Is there any forage available for them? There is plenty of pollen right now, so nectar is likely to come in at the same time. There will be a lot of water collected right now too, as the bees use what food stores they have. So I'm working through the frames quickly to get to the brood nest. Once there, can I see eggs? Are there young larvae? Is there sealed worker brood? If I get a yes to any or all of these questions, depending on what I see, I'll replace the frames and close them up if I'm happy. What would make me pause? What would make me unhappy? What would it take to make me close them up quickly? I know some of these questions are quite abstract for a lot of beginner beekeepers, so let me break it down a little further, because this is really important. The scenario where I close colonies or nukes quickly because I'm satisfied all is okay is as follows. Food frames have liquid honey in them, capped, but some being used maybe by the bees, cells showing evidence of being uncapped by the adult workers. Brood frames that give me confidence to close the hive up quickly are where I look at the first frame of the brood nest and see eggs, young larvae, ranging from barely visible to those starting to be capped. This we would term brood in all stages. Generally speaking, the queen tends to lay eggs from the middle of the frame towards the outside, so you should see eggs on the outside of the area there is brood, and working back towards the middle they gradually become older until at the centre you should or might find sealed brood, depending on how long it's taken the queen to lay eggs in that frame. At this time of the year, she won't yet be laying at her maximum capacity, so you might well find brood in all stages in one frame. Later in the spring and early summer, you might find a frame with just eggs and very young larvae in it, but for early spring it's a little slower as colonies build up. So what about frames that make me look a little further? Let's start with food frames. These should have accessible food stores, so anything that is still granulated solid is a red flag, as they say. Likewise, empty brood frames where stores should be might give cause for concern. Thinking about brood frames, these are likely to be somewhere centrally in the brood box. Not always, so don't panic if they're not. You should be able to tell if they're over to one side of the brood box when you first open the hive, as the top bars will likely be covered with adult bees. Bear that in mind when you pop off the crime board perhaps. When I finally get to a frame of brood, is it worker brood or drone brood? If you're not familiar with the difference, now would be a good time to take a look at some of my videos showing drone brood. If the colony has a lot of drone brood and you're struggling to find worker brood, you may have a drone laying queen. Sorry about that. Another cause for concern might be a frame of brood where lots of cells are capped, but some are open and appear to have dead or dying larvae in them. This could be a foul brood disease. Again, familiarise yourself with these, and if you have any doubt, call in your regional bee inspector. A patchy brood pattern isn't necessarily a sign of bad things. It might just be a queen getting to grips with increasing her egg-laying frequency, but it would be something I would make a note of. You might see chalk brood or sac brood. Let's face it, there's a range of issues that can befall our colonies. These shouldn't be investigated further on these initial inspections. Make a note and close them up. Sometimes the minor infections or diseases seem to disappear on their own, so don't be in a rush to do anything too early. So, these things all add up to put the colony on standby for further investigation. Anything other than a normal brood pattern and liquid food stores need to be checked again soon. At that point, it might well be the weather has warmed up sufficiently to perform a hive spring clean. I've talked about these before, and it's a simple but effective way to bring a hive out of the winter months, remove old tired boxes, floors and crime boards that maybe need a clean, and at the same time a chance to further look at what might have been a growing issue for the hive. Here's a reminder for those of you new to the process. I would carry out the inspection of the colony first, by the way. There's no point in going through the process of a spring clean only to find there's a foul brood issue or some other challenge. Once the inspection is complete, a spring clean makes life easier for the beekeeper and gives a colony a fresh, clean hive to start the new year with. I know I've been through this before. However, as a reminder, move the overwintered hive off its stand and pop a clean floor on that stand. Pop a clean brood box onto the floor, and something that we've done that can help is to lightly wipe the frame runners with petroleum jelly. It just helps the frames slide a little easier. Now all you do is move the frames out of the old box in order into the new box, replace the crown board with a clean one, pop the roof back on, and that's it. Just be careful to check the queen isn't on the side wall of the old brood box before you carry it and her away to your workshop or garage for cleaning. It's a simple routine that can really help with those initial spring inspections and beyond. One question that crops up over and over at this time of the year is, when can I move my super back on top of the brood box? So this question refers to a colony where the beekeeper has moved a super of food beneath the brood box for the winter period and is now looking to move it back on top again. I really like the under super technique for the winter, where colonies have stores available in a super. It moves the brood nest higher in the hive, away from cold winds and that damp ground. It also makes the midwinter oxalic acid treatments a lot easier too. But there comes a point, about now actually, when beekeepers start to get a little nervous about leaving it under the brood box for too long in case the queen starts to lay eggs in it. The super is for honey, right? So we don't want her laying eggs in it, taking up useful space for that spring honey crop. March is a good month to make the switch. Personally, I find later in the month is soon enough, usually coinciding with the first few inspections. When those inspections take place, it's simple enough to have a quick look at what's going on in the super beneath the brood box and decide what to do. If you wanted to move it sooner rather than later, but it's still chilly where you are, I would move it above the crown board rather than adding a queen excluder and putting it directly on top. Having it above your crown board means the bees can still stay reasonably warm below, but have the option of using it if there's a sudden nectar flow that you happen to miss between inspections. That nectar flow could well be soon. I've been driving around our apiaries and noticed quite a lot of oilseed rape beginning to break bud. The first small flowers beginning to open up and tempt local pollinators across to their fields with a nectar reward. But before you rush out with 3 or 4 supers to put on your hives, don't panic. There's still a while to go before the flow happens. Time enough then to clean your smoker and hive tools, make up some frames with foundation, and prepare for your visit to the BBKA Spring Convention. I'll see you there. Well, that's it for this week. For all of you who haven't yet signed up to my Patreon page, I, together with Steph, have been creating beekeeping content for many years now. And if you're looking for some straightforward, down-to-earth tips and techniques, help and advice, then do take a look at my Patreon page. We have over 1,700 individual beekeeping posts, videos and podcasts filled with useful and timely help and advice. My approach is pragmatic and calm, sometimes entertaining, but always with help and support for the beekeepers at the heart of what I do. I keep my videos short and concise wherever possible, no waffle, no flannel, just honest beekeeping advice from years of keeping bees. Take a look and join me for the new 2026 beekeeping season. It'll cost you less than a jar of honey, and you never know, there may be something there that will help improve your beekeeping. Check us out online at www.patreon.com/Norfolk Honey.